Okay, hello, and welcome back to another ZKX Solutions video demo. So about a week ago, Brian Armstrong, CEO of Coinbase, made some comments on X saying that they're expecting AI agents to be transacting at a greater volume than humans. He went on to make the observation that AI can certainly own crypto wallets, but they can't open bank accounts, which is absolutely correct. This kind of spawned what I think is an obvious question in my mind of how are we able to verify the identity of those agents, right? How can we make sure that the agent transacting from a wallet is the same agent that was doing it yesterday or last week, right? And not just from the perspective of the brokerage or the chain, right? But also to the person that that agent is acting on behalf of. So that's what this project that I'm showing you now, ZKX Cortex, is designed to solve. It's a zero knowledge proof based identity layer for both human and non-human entities on the network. And I'm going to give you a demo through this video. And I want to emphasize that this isn't a slideshow. It's not an animation. This is a real AI agent that is bound to a real wallet address on a real network with real tokens and real transactions. The only thing that doesn't make this real life quite yet is that this is a test net and not mainnet, but really that's the only difference. This is about as real life as we can get. Um, there's a couple things happening on this panel. On the left, you can see just kind of basic details about the agent and the wallet. There's this trigger transaction button that I'm going to use to have it actually transact for me. On the right, I'm measuring what I'm effectively calling like credentials here. These are intrinsic or measurable qualities of my AI agent and its operating environment. So I have the identity of the model, the integrity of the instructions that I gave it when I initially set it up, measuring different components about its runtime environment, what tools is it using, and what addresses is it bound to from a transactions perspective. So when I trigger a transaction, right, you're going to see a couple things happen. By triggering this transaction, all of the status markers for these credentials are going to say pass, right? Because they are indeed how I set them up. Nothing has structurally changed about the integrity of these measurable qualities of my agent here. It's 5 out of 5, it's full trust, and you can see that this event log, my transaction actually did go through and was confirmed. So that's kind of the baseline. And what's happening here is that we're actually mapping these different credentials or measurable qualities of the agent to be sort of seeds in a type of key derivation function that is a patented process owned by ZKX Solutions. But what comes out of this process are cryptographic keys that we then use in these zero knowledge proof transactions. So if these measurable qualities are uncompromised, their integrity is still intact, they will always be producing key data that can successfully respond to the zero knowledge challenges. If they become compromised in some degree, they will never be able to derive the correct randomized data that drive these zero knowledge proof transactions. And the zero knowledge distinction is important because even if something nefarious tries to query the status of my model's identity or the system prompt integrity, it's never going to learn anything about what those values actually are. It can only ever know that they're either intact or they're not, and nothing, not a single bit more of data than that. But that was kind of the happy path. Let's kind of make the attack assumption now. Let's assume that somebody gets into my environment and they're not only able to change like my system prompt instructions, right? Like maybe they want to do something like X% of all these transactions they want to funnel to their wallet address instead of wherever I've set up these transactions to go to. And they're going to install like a little backdoor in the environment to just keep tabs on their handiwork, right? So when that transaction goes to be triggered, you can see a whole bunch of red kind of popped up on the screen there for a second, and we can confirm that okay, we did not pass this identity verification check, or at least my AI agent did not, right? And if you remember my explanation from just a second ago, it's because the structural integrity of these certain characteristics have changed. Ergo, they are still creating cryptographic keys, but it won't be the right ones to respond to those randomized zero knowledge challenges coming from the verification end of this transaction. Ergo, we've had these kind of critical security failures in the integrity of the AI agent. Its security posture we can assume to be compromised. Therefore, we will block that transaction. right? So that's kind of the case of how we can lock this down if something has happened to hijack the identity of my agent, but we want to make sure we're also not going to hit any false positives, right? And a great example that I have for you for this is, let's say that I've given my Claude agent the instruction that it can be kind of on the lookout for better tools and to use its judgment as to, hey, if there's like a new library that came out that can help you visualize charts better, like go ahead and just download it, right? So let's say that one of these credential changes is not necessarily going to be an attack, right? But at least how I've set up my security system, that is a structural change that will then be reflected in those zero knowledge proof challenges. So when I go to trigger this transaction, I'm going to pull up a phone screen that I, the human end user, have here. I'm going to get an MFA push, and this is courtesy of our ZKX Helix solution that says, hey, your agent is trying to make this transaction. There's a little bit of flavor here about why it failed this transaction, but it's going to basically ask me, do you want to override this notice or do you want to hold this transaction back? We're going to go ahead and say, I told Claude it can do this, or maybe I will log into my system and query Claude myself about what's happening and, why has its state changed? And I'm going to go ahead and hit continue, right? I'm going to override this. This is an optional screen. You don't have to have an identity bound credential to this. I've just configured it to use my NFC readable identification card, which I'll then scan into the phone to make sure that it's the right human authorizing the right agent to make the right transaction, which you can see, even though my trust posture has been degraded, I, the human in the loop, have successfully overridden that security concern. You used my judgment to still push through that transaction. Again, so really that's the big difference here, right? Is that it's not a binary kill switch, right? We have the granularity to make some on the fly decisions because life is messy. It's hardly ever a black or white, 1 or 0, right? It's not a light switch where it's on or off. We want it more like a volume dial where does my security posture live today? We want to make the tools for you to execute that posture, whatever it might be. So I'll just close out by saying that I see a lot of discourse about how agentic identity is this big a horrifying problem that the landscape is trying to treat as this unsolved, eldritch entity, but really it's not, right? We have, again, this is a field tested, field deployed. We're working on rolling this out in both military and commercial contexts, but it's a patented, military validated, a functional identity layer for both the human and non-human user on your network, on your applications, in your ecosystem, right? But the important thing is that it's private, it's secure, and everybody is going to keep their own custody, right? So we want to try to address multiple problems at once, multiple big problems at once, with very smartly engineered, elegant, simple, and low footprint but high impact solutions. So again, that is the demo in a nutshell. Thank you very much for your attention. If you've got any comments, questions, concerns, you want to just tell me how fabulous my hair is, please feel free to reach out to me or anyone on my team. We'd be more than happy to sit and have a conversation with you or custom make you a demo for whatever you want to see. Thanks.